Victor, a respected businessman, lived a quiet life with his kind-hearted wife, Elena. But their marriage hid a terrible secret. Victor was having an affair with Clara, a young woman whose beauty and ambition masked a dangerous hunger for wealth and control. Clara, unsatisfied with being the other woman, began plotting a future without Elena in the picture. She whispered in Victor's ear, feeding his desire for freedom and tempting him with the idea of a life lived without restraint. Her influence grew stronger until she became his shadow, tugging at his every decision. The affair reached its peak when Clara, determined to secure her place by Victor's side, demanded that he leave Elena. But Victor hesitated, torn between his loyalty to the woman who had stood by him and the passion Clara offered. Clara's frustration turned into rage. She knew as long as Elena remained, her dreams would never come true. Then one stormy night, Clara vanished. The police searched, rumors spread, and suspicion fell on Victor. Elena stood by him with quiet strength, but in her heart a shadow of doubt took root. Victor swore he had no part in Clara's disappearance, but the truth was buried deeper than anyone imagined. Months passed. Victor tried to rebuild his marriage, clinging to Elena's forgiveness, though his guilt never left him. Just as peace began to settle, Clara reappeared, as if returned from the dead. She came to Elena first, her eyes gleaming with false humility. With honeyed words, she begged forgiveness, claiming regret, pretending she wanted nothing more than to make amends. But Elena's instincts told her otherwise. Behind Clara's sweet smile, she sensed something dark and calculating. She listened quietly, her heart steady, but her mind sharp. She knew Clara's return wasn't about love or forgiveness. It was about revenge, and about reclaiming Victor at any cost. And as Victor walked into the room and saw Clara standing there, alive, Elena realized their lives were about to be torn apart again. Victor froze at the sight of Clara, his face draining of color as though he'd seen a ghost. For a moment he couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Clara smiled faintly, her eyes fixed on him with a mixture of triumph and tenderness, though neither was real. "Elena has forgiven me," she said softly, her voice dripping with sweetness that concealed her true intent. "I only wish for peace." Victor swallowed hard. He glanced at Elena, searching her face for guidance, but Elena's calm eyes gave away nothing. She had already guessed what Clara was after, but she would not reveal her hand too soon. "You disappeared," Victor whispered, almost to himself. "Everyone thought," he stopped, unable to finish, "that I was dead." Clara's smile widened. "Yes, but I am very much alive, Victor, and I've come back for what's mine." The room fell into a heavy silence. Elena's fingers tightened around the teacup she held, though she kept her composure. She saw it clearly now. Clara had returned not to heal but to destroy, to pull Victor back into her web. Victor tried to steady himself, but Clara's presence unsettled him deeply. Memories of their passion returned, tangled with the shame and guilt he had buried. He felt Elena's steady gaze on him, and forced himself to turn away from Clara. "You don't belong here," he said firmly, though his voice carried the weight of uncertainty. "My life is with Elena." Clara's laughter was soft but sharp, like a blade hidden in silk. "You think she'll always stand by you. You think forgiveness is endless." Her eyes flicked to Elena, piercing and cruel. "One day she'll remember what you did. One day she'll see you for the man you really are. And when that day comes, Victor, she'll leave you, but I won't." Elena rose slowly, setting the cup aside. Her voice was steady, but her eyes blazed with a quiet strength Clara hadn't expected. "You may have come back from the shadows, Clara, but you're mistaken if you think you can break what we've built. Whatever games you're planning, I see through them." For the first time, Clara's smile faltered. Yet she quickly masked it, stepping closer to Victor, her hand almost brushing his arm. "We'll see," she murmured. Victor stepped back, his jaw tightening. "No, Clara, those days are over." But even as he said it, Elena knew this was only the beginning. Clara was not a woman who gave up easily. She had returned from the darkness with a plan, and she would stop at nothing to have what she wanted. Days turned into weeks, and Clara lingered like a shadow in their lives. She appeared at Victor's office, offering apologies to his employees, weaving herself into conversations as if she had never left. She would stop by Alina's store with little gifts, smiling sweetly as if her betrayal had been erased. But beneath the charm, Alina could feel the venom. Victor tried to ignore her, burying himself in work, in his life with Alina. Yet Clara's presence gnawed at him, stirring old guilt and forgotten desire. At night, Alina would catch him staring at the ceiling, lost in thoughts he wouldn't share. She held him, but she could feel the distance creeping in. Clara knew exactly what she was doing. She sent Victor small reminders of their past. An old photograph slipped under his office door, a familiar perfume lingering on his coat after a meeting she accidentally attended. Each act was calculated, designed to unsettle him, to make Alina question his loyalty. One evening, Alina found a letter in her store's mailbox. It wasn't signed, but she knew the handwriting instantly. "He still wants me. He always will. You can never erase me." Alina's hands trembled as she read it, but instead of confronting Victor, she stayed silent. She would not give Clara the satisfaction of seeing her shaken. But Clara grew bolder. At a gala one night, she arrived in a striking gown, her arm brushing Victor's as she passed, her lips curling in a smile meant only for him. Whispers filled the room, and Alina felt every eye upon her. Clara leaned in close to Victor, her voice a whisper that Alina could still hear across the table. "You'll come back to me. It's only a matter of time." That night, when they were finally alone, Victor broke down. "I swear to you, Alina," he pleaded, his voice raw, "I don't want her. I don't love her, but she won't stop. She won't leave us alone." Alina held his face in her hands, her eyes steady. "Then we make her stop." From that moment, Alina began watching Clara as closely as Clara had been watching them. She followed her patterns, noticed the way she manipulated, the way she thrived on stirring doubt, and slowly a plan began to form. Clara believed herself the hunter, circling her prey, but Alina was no longer just a wife caught in the storm. She was becoming the storm itself, and when the time came, Clara would learn what it meant to play with fire. Alina knew Clara thrived on secrecy and manipulation. So instead of confronting her directly, she began quietly gathering proof. Every letter, every photograph, every whisper Clara left behind, Alina kept them, building a trail of evidence that revealed Clara's obsession. She even spoke to others who had seen Clara lurking near their home or leaving the office late at night. Piece by piece, the mask of innocence Clara wore began to crumble. One evening, Alina invited Clara to the store after closing. Clara arrived with her usual false smile, expecting to play another game. But this time, Alina was waiting with Victor by her side. Spread out on the counter were all of Clara's letters, photographs, and recordings of her whispered threats. For the first time, Clara's confidence faltered. "You don't understand," she stammered, her voice sharp with panic. "He belongs with me. He always has." "No," Alina said firmly, her voice steady as steel. "What you've done isn't love. It's destruction, and it ends tonight." Victor stepped forward, his face hardened with resolve. "I made mistakes, Clara, but I won't let you hurt us anymore." Clara's eyes filled with fury, but when she reached for Victor, he stepped back. The realization hit her like a blade. She had lost. The power she clung to had slipped away, and the obsession that consumed her had left her with nothing. Alina's strength had won, not through anger, but through patience, truth, and unshakable resolve. Clara left that night, her footsteps echoing into the darkness, and she never returned. In the days that followed, peace slowly settled back into Victor and Alina's lives. Their wounds did not heal overnight, but together they rebuilt, stronger than before. Clara's shadow no longer lingered over them. It had vanished into the past where it belonged. And so their story closed, not with fire or ruin, but with the quiet triumph of love that endured the storm. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life.